And welcome to episode 107 of the Gaslec podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to have a slightly different approach to it. And we've got some really good tips for some small business owners out there that are starting to struggle, certainly if you're in the trade or if you're in the hospitality sector. But first of all, here's my friend Sean to tell you a bit more about the podcast. Are you a new person coming into plumbing and heating? Are you a homeowner that likes a bit of DIY? Or are you a business owner and want a bit more knowledge before you make some decisions on your plumbing and heating? Stay tuned to the podcast and hopefully we'll be able to help you out with some of your questions. And welcome back, and thank you very much indeed for listening, guys. So I'm recording this on the bank holiday. It is the 24th, so Sunday the 24th. It's really, really hot. We've got the air conditioning here going at the Gaslec towers because it's so warm outside. Hitting like 30 degrees at the moment. So when it comes to plumbing and heating, people ain't really picking up the telephone or getting onto the emails. And I've really thought with the economic situation that we have, certainly with it's affecting us trades and within the hospitality sector, I thought we'd do a little podcast on some of the stuff that we need to think about as business owners on sort of and how we need to evolve a little bit. So I thought I'd come up with some ideas and I'll dedicate this podcast to that. So whether you're a plumber, a builder, a cafe owner, electrician, a retailer, engineer or office-based company, the pressure right now is real. The costs are rising, customers are more cautious, wages are going up, national insurance is up, energy costs are up and unpredictable. And as many businesses are asking the same question, how will we actually survive and grow in this economy? So I've come up with a few bullet points here, guys. So the reality for us small businesses right now, running a small business in 2026 feels harder than ever for us, for many of us people. So with rising wages, increased national insurance contributions, higher supply costs within plumbing and heating from Wolseley that we deal with. I think it was the 1st of May. Everything went up by at least 4%. All the boilers, and all the costs for all the little bits and pieces that went on. So we're having to pass that on to our customers, which was a bit tricky because we had some quotes that are out there and we honour our quotes for 30 days. So they come in just before the price increase. We had to honour that after they accepted. And we just took that on the chin, the part and parcel. But certainly the new quotes that were coming in after that were reflecting on this price increase as well. And we're finding that customers are slower to spend at the moment. But what we do find is that when people are slower to spend, all of these problems still build up. And we saw this in COVID, where they weren't allowed to get people in to repair the boiler, or they wasn't doing the boiler repairs because they're worried about all this negative news about people dying and businesses closing and stuff. People held back on their spending. And what we found is that across most industries, certainly the car industry as well, is that when the confidence come back into the market, suddenly there was a massive flood of all these jobs that are coming out, and we couldn't actually keep up with it all because all of it was being held back. All these boilers that are faulty, the leaky taps, the leaky radiators for us, in plumbing and heating, weren't going away. They were still there, but they were just being stored up. And unfortunately, some people did actually go bust and did throw the towel in. There was actually some people I knew that when it worked for Tesco's, they went and worked for Sainsbury's and Morrison's. They just give it all up. I've had enough of it. I'm going to close my business down. I'm going to hand over my customer list to someone that they know, like, and trust. And I'm going to sell my van and I'm going to go and earn a steady wage somewhere else. And if that's their decision, then hopefully it's right for them and their family moving forwards. But when you've got slower customer spending, it does start making people twitch. And they start lowering the prices. I saw one company locally, we charge £99, including VAT, for a boiler service. And I'm pretty rigid on that as well. One company's trying to charge 45 quid plus the VAT to try and get new customers in. But if you undervalue your service, then people will expect that all the time. And never undervalue what you do. You can always reduce in what you offer, So let's just say we're going to offer a boiler installation, and let's say it's 2,000 quid to supply and fit a boiler, and then they want it for a little bit less. Well, what can we take away from that boiler installation? What can the customer do for the job? Can they drain all their heating system down themselves? And start getting that prepped and ready? Can they, if we can go along and from the gas side, and then physically remove the boiler? Do they want to make good the wall? Do they want to start replacing their own radiators or on their own valves, or power flush their own heating system? Whatever they want to do to reduce the cost. But my advice is to you guys is that don't budge and don't undervalue your own service and what you think you're worth. There'll be a lot of opportunists out there, sharks that are going around as customers, and they're trying to go, actually, well, there's a lot of, supply and demand at the moment. There's more supply than demand. So because of that, they can start shopping around trying to knock everyone down. So here at Gaslec, we stand firm on what we charge and what we do for our clients. And we're transparent in what we supply and what we do all the way across the board. But because you might come up with a bit of a hard luck story or whatever you want to do, you're going to offer me this job, and you've got two cousins or brothers that want their jobs done in the future as well. I'm not interested in all that old nonsense. So there's the job, there's a price, and hopefully that meets your requirements for you as well. And obviously we have insurance increases across the board, and that's buildings insurance. We've got premises here. We've got our public liability insurance. We've got insurance for people getting hurt, for as an employer as well, obviously, and vehicle insurance policies as well as, and they're all creeping up. And it's almost like that hidden cost of just turning up in a van, and actually this year is actually more expensive than the year before. And we're finding that a lot, and I've had a chat with the admin team here, a lot of customers are shopping around purely on price. So we're starting to see that, and it all depends on what customer you want, what's your ideal customer, what's your avatar that you're looking for. And certainly if you're looking for people coming from the social media side, from the Facebook, and I've got a leak on this, how much to change that, they're all price focused clients. So all depends on what your business model is, and is that the right business model for you? Now, we do get a lot of commercial clients. We have a lot of clients that are not that fussed on the cost because they are time poor and they want the job done efficiently, quickly, sometimes without a fuss and commotion, because they may be in the public eye in what they do. They want the job done, dusted, taken care of, and let me know. They don't have the time. Their time is worth more than going onto Facebook and shopping around for all, Billy and Johnny and whoever else that may be out there, and who can do it for a £5 cheaper. They want the job done right. They want it done. If they know they've got a problem, they can pick up the phone, they can speak to somebody, get it booked in and get somebody back out, and it all takes care of it. So, some customers are shouting on price, but there are actually a lot of customers out there that actually are happy to pay for the service. So the next section that I want to go through, guys, is all about cash flow. And cash flow really is king. You could have £1 million worth of invoices out there on loads of desks and in people's email addresses. And if everybody wants to go on to a 90-day, let's say 3-month payment terms with you, all of a sudden you can't pay wages at the end of the week or month. You can't pay your suppliers. You can't pay HMRC. And so actually majority of businesses folding is all to do with cash flow. So just make sure you're on top of your invoicing. And you're getting it out there for all your customers. So late paying customers, over trading, and we'll do another podcast on over trading, which is really, really important. And taking on too much work, taking on too much debt, because you end up becoming almost like a finance company for these bigger companies. Underpricing jobs, which is absolutely massive. When someone says, I've got, we've got a customer who's got 15 rental properties. It's all part of like a charity. I won't go into what it is. And we've got 15 units or little flats, retirement flats, all in a row, literally door 1, door 2, door 3. And we've actually done them a deal for doing all 15 all at the same time. But it's really, really easy to go in at a silly number and start underpricing jobs. And before you know it, you're outside and you're actually making a loss. And it'd be actually cheaper to give them a £5 per door rather than walking through it. So just be mindful about underpricing jobs. So financing tools and vehicles and materials incorrectly. Now, I don't know a lot about finance. I'm not that sort of clever guy, but I do know that there are lots of companies out there and they'll offer you finance for this and finance for that. But actually, when you're looking at how much interest you're actually paying back on those materials, it might be very quick and easy to do, but have a look on how much you're actually paying. Would it actually be cheaper to approach your business bank and actually get a loan out to pay off the finance, which is at a higher rate, and actually structure it correctly? It'll actually take a bit more time going through the bank, but actually could save you a lot more money long term with that as well. So make sure that with the customers, we're invoicing them nice and quickly, and we're chasing payments professionally. And if you're dealing with B2B, business to business, and you're dealing with see if you can get a little bit of a rapport, a little bit of a relationship with the person that you're speaking to on the telephone. And then just, if you're speaking to the correct person, just ask that. We're chasing up invoice 1, 2, 3. Are you the person that I need to speak to about chasing that payment? Have all the boxes been ticked? Has it all been authorised all the way through? Is there a finance or accounts department that I need to speak to chase this up because it's outstanding? So know your margins. Make sure your gross profits are all in check. So what is really important with that? Have a good review on what you do and stop doing unprofitable work. So, for instance, we had only a couple of days ago, we had a job and we was changing a radiator over. And I don't know how it's all happened. It was change over a radiator on a ground floor on a gravity hot water system. The customer supplying everything and all the pipe tails were too short. We was there for about 5 hours. We actually quoted them for an hour and a half. So, stop doing unprofitable jobs. I might as well give that guy 50 quid and not turn up to his house because I completely lost money on that, or the business lost money on that job. So review on what is unprofitable and cut it out. Like Deadwood, just get rid of it. And in business, review your direct debits monthly. Before you know it, you've got this bit of software you're paying for, you've got McAfee, you've got all these little bits and pieces that you didn't realise you're signing up for, or they're still ongoing when you've stopped using them, and they just tick away quietly in the background because you're too busy dealing with everything else. But do sit down, spend a couple of hours and go through all of your monthly direct debits and just make sure what you're paying for you actually do need. So sometimes survival isn't about earning more, it's about leaking or spending less. So efficiency is the new profit. So you've got to think about everything here we do in Gaslec. Well, I've got this podcast studio and we've gone for a couple of different ideas, and we've got all these bits of computer stuff and the microphone here and the Mickey Mouse and the teacup. That all costs money and that all come from profit. So if you think about every elbow that you have, every pipe fitting, every electrical face socket and all those bits and pieces are actually, if they're kicking around in the back of the van or in your storeroom, wherever they'll be, just think about that is the profit from all of that hard work that you've been doing. So this cup cost me about £5 to get this printed. So we're working on a 10% profit margin on net profit. We had to do 50 quid's worth of business just to pay for this one teacup. So if you think about and put it into that, if you are running around 10%, and most businesses do run around about 10% profit margin on the net. So if you then explain to your team that £100 item actually costs 1,000 quid's worth of work to go out and to actually end up with that 10% profit. Trying to get them to think a bit more about, just throw that away. That's That's fine. There's a 2-port valve and the box is squished. I'll throw that in the bin. That could be 100 quid. Once again, 1,000 quid's worth of business. And that's the profit. That's the cream off the top. And it always comes from the top first. It never comes from the bottom, because everybody wants to get paid, don't they? So we need to become an economy that rewards more efficient in businesses. So we start thinking about doing better scheduling, route planning, stock control, automation. Is there any AI tools we can implement into our businesses? Better quoting system, smarter ways of diagnosing problems, wasting journeys. And businesses are using AI to survive and rising costs to stay lean. So for us, we changed December 25, it's 24, 25, whenever it is, December 24, we changed over to Powered Now as our new system from Gas Engineer Software. And one of the great things on there is we have a button to message the client, and that will text them and email them to tell them that we're on our way. And that has saved us probably 20, 25 times. We've pushed the button to say we're on our way, and the customer's gone, I've forgotten you're coming. There's a change of circumstances. I need to cancel the call. And then they call up the office after they get it and go, I need to cancel this call. The guy said they're 25 minutes, 30 minutes away. And it's actually stopped us attending the property, turning up to be turned away. Or you turn up and there's no one there and you're banging on the door like some sort of fool. So from that, they're implementing different systems and different strategies, so you can sort of make those little bits of savings on time and on energy and fuel as well, getting to there. So, and if you have got any sort of stock control, any sort of automation that you can place into your business, that can keep you as lean as possible. Staff retention matters more than ever. It's so important to keep your team together. It's so easy to say, well, it's not easy, but in the sense of okay, work's dropped down for the last couple of months. We're going to get rid of the cheapest member of staff and just cut them away. But you start thinking about training costs, recruitment costs, and then lost productivity and a morale and a culture that gets damaged as well just for doing that. So it's really important that when work does get a little bit tighter, how can you be more efficient and trying to keep everyone together? What's really important is you communicate with all of your team members and be realistic about what's going on. It could be that they've been thinking about taking some holiday, and you could say, well, it's a bit quiet at the moment. And things are a little bit tight. They may say, oh, okay, I'll fancy 2 weeks holiday. So, they're entitled to it as part of their PAYE thing, but they can go off on holiday. So we ain't sort of, for me, if I've got a member of staff that's sort of in the office, it plays on my mind a little bit that we're paying them to be there and we don't have anything for them to do. So, there's always bits and pieces around the office, little touch-up bits, a bit of organising, a bit of stock taking, a bit of stock control to do. But, if they can start taking their little bit of holiday, if it suits their family and their own schedule, that's absolutely great. Because you want to keep that morale and that culture going, that you don't just hire and fire as work rises and falls. You need to talk honestly to your team, which is really, really, really important. Young people now cost more to employ, and the gap between the skilled and the unskilled wages is absolutely shrinking. So business, we now need more productivity from our teams. So treating staff properly, invest in the training, building loyalty and communicate openly, which I absolutely champion here up at Gaslec. And we have young Ryan with us, and he's doing his plumbing, and he's doing very well. And he's out with our air conditioning guy, Dave, and he's learning the ropes on that side, and he's shown a bit of an interest in that area for future training up to become one of our air conditioning engineers, which is absolutely great, and I fully support that. So we've given him some tasks to achieve and to get to, and then we'll get the training invested into him. So coming to the end of the podcast, so local businesses still matter, customers still value good service, and efficient companies still do grow. So what I see is that bad news and headlines sell newspapers. So whether that be on social media, and there'll be some sort of big tagline on a Sun newspaper clip of this company's gone bust, another hotel chain's gone bust, another 25 restaurants have all gone bust, and all this negative news really does create that clicking for their adverts to come through to so they can get paid. So what's really important is we don't get, as business owners and as employers, we don't get dragged into that, because it does affect our mental health, and we do start thinking a bit more negative about it. And as someone once said to me, if you stick at it, you can't fail. You only fail when you stop. And I love that little phrase. And that is so true in whatever you're doing. Whether you're climbing Ben Nevis, you're climbing Snowdon. If you've got one foot in front of the other and you don't stop walking, then you're always going to get to the top, or whatever your goal may be. So it's really important to stay positive at this time. And there may be lots of other business opportunities out there. And we've been looking at other businesses for sale that we can do a purchase of, and bring another business and implement it and sort of fold it into what we do here. But that's stuff that's going on in the background, so it's a little bit chaotic at the moment. But yeah, that's, there's lots of opportunities. You've got a business and the owner wants to retire. You can maybe set up a structured deal for buying that business and bring them on. Bring the team members on, bring the vans on, bring the stock in. If they've got premises, introduce that into your sort of portfolio as well. And that's really, really important. And you may be able to get some finance for the bank to help with that as well. And there's lots of deals flashing around at the moment being supported by the government to support local businesses. So I really want to get this little podcast out just to sort of have some of my sort of ideas really on, if you are out there and you're a one-person band, you've got a couple of people under your wing and you're in a service sort of based industry, that there will be people that will throw the towel in. There are people that will go bust. And I wish everybody out there all the success in their businesses, no matter what you do. Now, AI is coming for the lunch of some businesses out there. So if you are in the creative side, if you are in sort of the legal side of doing things, and there's a lot of repetition what you do, you're a surveyor, any of those sort of jobs, then I'd seriously consider about what you're going to be doing in the next 10 years, because AI and these new systems that are coming out are going to take that. It's so easy now to create an advert, to create a business plan, to create all the legal documents for contract staff. Let's just say, if you want to create something, it's just so easy, tip, 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 boom, it's all done. And you can do that at midnight on a Sunday. It's so straightforward these days, and it's getting better as well. So I hope that adds some positivity, guys. It is tough out there, it is, but you just need to cut your cloth. And you just need to see where your bucket's got a hole, and can you put a plaster on it for now, and save that water that's in that bucket, and be a lot more frugal in what you do. I wish you all the best, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Goodbye.